Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really getting into the engine room of value delivery in big organizations, agile teams.
Specifically within SAFe, the Scaled Agile framework.
Exactly. We've been looking at this foundational guide, you could call it, that really lays out what these teams are.
Yeah, it's a good source. Gets right down to the building blocks. I mean, these teams are where the rubber meets the road in SAFe, really turning strategy into something tangible.
Right. And our mission today basically give you the shortcut to understanding them. We want to unpack, the key concepts, what makes them tick, the different
The
kinds,
roles, how they work day to day.
their responsibilities. Yeah.
Yeah.
So by the end, you should have a much clearer picture of why they work, how they're set up, and why that structure helps deliver value, especially when you're talking about a large scale.
Think of it as getting the DNA. Understanding the DNA of delivery when things get big helps you see how all the pieces fit together.
Okay, let's dive right in then. First things first, the absolute basics. What is an agile team in SAFe?
Well, the source defines it pretty clearly. It's a cross-functional group, usually 10 people or fewer.
10 or fewer, okay.
And the really critical part, they're meant to have all the skills needed right inside that team
All the skills, like what?
to define the work, build it, test it, and deliver value. The whole cycle.
Ah, so they're not constantly waiting on other teams for basic steps.
Precisely. And that leads to some key characteristics the guide points out, like they're self-directed.
Meaning they manage their own work.
Yeah, they figure out how to meet their objectives. And another really important detail sometimes missed is that the team members are dedicated.
Dedicated how?
Dedicated to one agile team. That's it. No splitting time across 5 projects.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that structure, that dedication, it's specifically designed to cut out all the delays and inefficiencies you see in traditional project teams where people are spread thin.
Right, right. Less context switching, fewer hidden dependencies just because someone's calendar is jammed.
Mhm.
Makes sense. So what's the big payoff then? Why structure things this way?
Well, the main goal is quick delivery, small batches.
Small batches of work.
Yeah, but it's not just about speed for speed's sake. It's about learning fast.
How so?
They're constantly trying to get quick feedback, ideally from actual customers or users. And that rapid feedback loop, that's gold
Because,
because it lets them adapt. They can adjust their plans based on what they actually learned from putting something out there, even if it's small. In a big setup, figuring out early if you're on the wrong track saves, well, potentially a lot of wasted effort.
okay, I see. Avoid building the wrong thing big. Build the right thing small, iteratively. Now, in a large organization, you probably need different kinds of these teams, right? It can't be one size fits all.
Exactly. The source is clear on that, too. SAFe recognizes you need different team structures to optimize how value flows across the whole system. It describes 4 main types or patterns.
4 types. Okay, let's break those down. What are they?
So first, and probably the most common, are stream-aligned teams.
Streamline.
Okay. These guys are set up around a specific flow of value. Could be for a particular customer segment, a product feature set, whatever. They aim to have everything they need to deliver value end-to-end for that stream.
So they kind of own a whole slice of the customer experience or business capability.
That's a really good way to think about it.
Yeah.
Then number 2, you've got complicated subsystem teams.
Okay, sounds complicated.
Well, yeah. They handle parts of the system that need really deep, specialized knowledge.
Yeah.
Think like complex algorithms, maybe a specific piece of hardware, a tricky legacy component.
Stuff that not everyone needs to be an expert in.
Exactly. Their job is to manage that complexity so the streamlined teams can just use their stuff without getting bogged down in the deep technical details.
Got it. Like the engine specialists versus the main car assembly line.
Yeah, that's a decent analogy.
Yeah.
Okay, third type, platform teams.
Platform, like infrastructure.
Could be infrastructure, yeah. Or shared services, common tools, APIs, things that many other teams need to use to do their own work. They build the reusable foundations.
So other teams don't have to reinvent the wheel constantly.
Precisely. They provide leverage. And finally, the fourth type is enabling teams.
Enabling. What do they enable?
They help other teams get better. They might be temporary, maybe focused on helping teams adopt a new technology or learn a new practice or overcome a specific kind of obstacle. They spread expertise.
Interesting. So kind of like internal coaches or specialists who help level up the other teams.
You could think of it that way, yeah. They boost capability across the board.
So you have teams focused on customer value streams, deep tech, shared platforms, and capability building. How does having these different types actually help the whole organization deliver value better? It seems complex.
Well, it might seem complex, but it actually addresses the complexity of scale.
Hmm.
By having dedicated teams for, say, a complicated subsystem or a shared platform, you reduce the cognitive load on the stream-aligned teams.
Meaning they don't have to know everything.
Right. They can focus on their customer flow. And the platform teams ensure consistency and efficiency for common stuff. Enabling teams speed up learning. It's about specialization and managing dependencies smartly across what SAFe calls the Agile Release Train, or RT.
Ah, yes, the RT, the team of teams.
Right. Typically 50 to 125 people all working together on a larger solution. These team types help that RT function much more effectively.
Okay, that structure makes more sense now. It's about optimizing flow for that bigger group. So within any of these teams, who are the key players? The source outlines specific roles.
Yep, 3 core elements really define the internal structure. First, you've got the team members.
The people doing the work.
Exactly. The developers, testers, designers, analysts, whoever has the skills needed, they're the ones actually building and delivering the value increments.
Okay, the hands-on folks. Who else?
Then there's the product owner. Big role.
What's their focus?
They're the team's connection to the bigger picture, the customer, the business strategy. They help shape the vision and roadmap, but crucially, they own the team's backlog.
Meaning they decide what the team works on.
They define the work items' user stories, usually, and prioritize them. They make sure the team is working on the most valuable stuff from the perspective of the overall RT and the business.
So they represent the what's and why. Got it. And the third role.
That's the Scrum Master team coach. Their focus is more on the how.
How the team works.
Yeah. How they use Agile methods, how they collaborate, how they improve. They help the team perform at its best, remove impediments, blocking their progress.
Like a facilitator and protector.
Sort of, yeah. And they also help the team contribute to the improvement of the whole RT, not just their own little bubble.
Okay, so you have the doers, team members, the direction setter, product owner, and the process improvement guide, Scrum Master team coach.
Yeah.
Seems like they really need to collaborate closely.
Absolutely critical. Each brings a vital perspective. When they work well together, that's when the team can really become effective and, well, agile.
All right, so we've got the team defined, the types, the roles. How do they actually operate? What's the day-to-day rhythm like?
Well, the source talks about the frameworks they use. Most commonly, it's either Safe Scrum or Safe Team Kanban.
Scrum or Kanban? Or both?
Often, yeah.
Yes.
Many teams end up blending practices from both. They figure out what works best for their context and adapt over time. Flexibility is key.
Well, they have some kind of structure, right?
Oh, definitely. Regardless of the specific framework, they establish routines. Things like iteration planning, figuring out the work for the next short cycle, usually 2 weeks.
Okay.
Daily syncs, quick meetings to coordinate and flag problems, and retrospective looking back to see how they can improve.
Standard Agile stuff.
Pre-standard, yes. And visualizing work is huge, usually with a Kanban board, making the workflow visible to everyone.
Why is that so important?
It just makes everything transparent. You can see bottlenecks, see where work is piling up. It helps the team manage their flow much better.
And that relates to how they deliver value.
Absolutely. The core operating principles stem from that visibility. Working in small batches, controlling work in process WIP.
Ah, WIP limits. Not starting too much stuff at once.
Exactly. Finishing work before starting new work. It sounds simple, but it's incredibly powerful for improving flow and predictability, especially when you've got lots of teams needing to integrate their work.
Makes sense. What else?
Actively removing delays, constantly getting customer feedback and actually using it. And always looking for ways to improve their own process.
Okay, let's dig a bit deeper into their main jobs. The source lists 5 core responsibilities for these teams. Connecting with the customer,
Right.
planning the work, delivering value, getting feedback, and improving relentlessly. Let's start with connecting with the customer. How do they do that?
It's about building real empathy, understanding the user's world. This happens through, direct interaction when possible.
Talking to users.
Talking, observing, also leveraging the product owner who should have deep customer insight. And sometimes just watching user try to use the software.
So getting beyond just written requirements.
Definitely. They're also involved in defining the solution, working with the PO to write good user stories, clear acceptance criteria, making sure they understand what success looks like for the user.
And experiments.
Yeah, designing experiments too. Maybe building a quick prototype, doing some user research, releasing a small feature to test an idea, getting that fast validation.
Cool. Okay, next, planning the work and delivering value.
Planning happens at a couple of levels. They participate in PI planning for the whole RT, aligning on the big picture for the next 8-12 weeks or so.
Getting everyone on the same page?
Exactly. Then they do their own detailed iteration planning, adjusting based on what they learned, and continuously refine their backlog with the PO.
And the delivery part.
That's about building quality in, integrating their work frequently, testing constantly, synchronizing with other teams on the ART so the whole solution comes together.
Integration seems key at scale.
It's huge. And part of that is building and improving their delivery pipeline, the automation and tools that let them release value quickly and reliably.
Okay, so planning is about alignment, delivery is about integrated quality. What about getting effective feedback? Seems related to connecting with the customer.
It is, but it's broader too. The source highlights 3 things here. 1, know the customer, get those direct user insights we talked about.
Right.
2, validate technical concerns. Test assumptions about performance, security, architecture. Don't just assume it'll work.
Test the non-functional stuff too.
Early and often.
Yeah.
And 3, gather data. Look at usage metrics, system performance, business results. Use quantitative data to see the impact of what they delivered.
So it's user feedback, technical validation, and data. A 3-legged stool for feedback.
Nicely put.
Okay.
Which brings us to the last one, maybe the most crucial in Agile, improving relentlessly.
How does that happen in practice?
Well, there are the formal events, team retrospectives every iteration, and the big inspect and adapt workshop for the whole RT at the end of each PI.
Scheduled improvement time?
Yep. But the guide stresses something else too. Improve immediately when needed. Don't wait for the retro if you see a problem now. If something's blocking the team or hurting quality, tackle it right away.
Be proactive about fixing things.
Exactly. And this is really important for scale. Share what you learn. Share improvements, share challenges, share solutions with other teams.
Why is sharing so critical?
Because that's how the whole organization learns. It stops improvements from being stuck in silos. It builds transparency and helps create a culture where everyone is learning and improving together. That's how you get systemic improvement, not just isolated pockets of excellence.
That makes total sense. Team improvement feeding into RT improvement, feeding into organizational learning.
That's the goal.
Wow, okay. We have definitely covered a lot of ground. We've looked at the core definition of a safe agile team, the different types like stream-aligned, platform, etc.
The key roles: team members, product owner, scrum master, team coach.
Right, how they operate using Scrum or Kanban, focusing on flow and WIP.
And those 5 big responsibilities: connecting with customer, planning, delivering, getting feedback.
And improving relentlessly.
Yeah, it's a lot, but understanding these pieces is, well, it's fundamental if you're working in or even just interacting with a safe environment. These teams are the core unit delivering value. How well they function really impacts everything else.
It really does clarify the why behind so much of the SAFE framework, seeing how it all supports these teams. All right, so thinking about that last point, improving relentlessly, and especially sharing those improvements across many teams. Here's something to maybe ponder.
Okay.
If that sharing and immediate improvement across a whole RT or even multiple RTs is so vital, what do you think are the biggest cultural roadblocks that stop that from happening?
That's a big question.
Yeah. Think about things like trust between teams or transparency, or maybe the fear of sharing failures, not just successes. What kind of culture does it really take for that kind of relentless shared improvement to actually thrive across a large organization? Something to think about until our next deep dive.